Hello, I'm Brenda Baird, and I am an alumnus of Carleton, having both a master's and PhD. Master's with Chris Herdman, Joanna Fave Lab, and a PhD in neuropsych with Dr. Tomba, who is no longer with us, but will always be here with me. And it's interesting that we're all talking about confidence, because mine is a recurring theme as well, and the three of us did not talk. So mine really is a story of confidence, because I come from Cape Breton, born in Newfoundland, and when I was growing up, my mother didn't wish that I'd be a doctor or a dentist. She was hoping I would learn how to talk and walk. So having succeeded at that, I decided I would pursue a degree and education, and I think I've been pretty lucky to come to Carleton. So what I want to do, first of all, is talk a little bit about what I do right now. And actually, when I look back, it actually has been a true metamorphosis for me. This whole experience at Carleton was truly an evolution that got me to where I am today. It was actually being transformed from a really scared undergrad into a person who can give lectures without happy faces on the pages, and I'll get into that in a moment. So I've been at Carleton for a long time. I'm one of those people, I'm one of those children who never wants to leave home. I'm still connected. I'm at the University of Ottawa, and I'm Carleton. I just want to wish you your 60th anniversary, happy anniversary. 60 years, I've been here for 75 of them. So again, I am at the University of Ottawa. And what I do is I specialize in pedagogical innovation and course development. Now you got to keep in mind that I am basically a teaching machine. I left, of course, learning how to do research, but most of my career at U of O is developing courses and pedagogical innovations, trying to enhance the undergraduate experience. So I have actually developed now probably close to 15 different courses. I've taught over 1,500 students usually on average in an academic year. I teach 7 at Ottawa U. I teach probably 5 here in a given year. So I am very, very busy teaching. So my research is basically looking at educational practices and innovations and how to enhance particularly the undergrad experience, because at heart I will always be that undergrad coming in afraid, and I want to take that person and just take their little hearts and try and make it into something more confident, which is what happened to me in my path at Carleton. And interestingly enough, I really am the personification of John Locke's tabula rasa. I was the blank slate that Carleton actually wrote on. So I'm living proof of that concept. Interestingly enough, I have a little aside. When I was first asked by Emma, Dr. Bowker's daughter, about why I chose psychology, I was a little embarrassed as I started to reflect. Coming from a Cape Breton background, Newfoundland, it seemed a logical choice. But in any event, I had to think, and I wanted to come up with some strategic plan that I had developed, some trajectory of high academic profile. And when I thought about it, I thought, oh wow, it was because of my first intro class at St. F.X. I was an undergrad at St. F.X. University, and of course, near Cape Breton, not too far from the mainland. And I walked in, I went back to school quite late. I was in my early 30s when I went back to school, having realized the importance of education very quickly when I worked in a bank. And so I arrived a lot older than other people, living in residence, I might add, because any condition is nowhere else to live. So that was an experience. And I walked into my first intro class, 8:30 Monday morning. And I was sitting there at the front, because they told me to sit at the front. I didn't even know how to use that thing on the seat. I didn't know what that was. Very nervous, very anxious, and looking around, everybody was a lot younger than me. And this guy walks in, and he's really cute. And I'm looking, and wow, this guy's hot. He's 27, 28, right? And he keeps on walking and walking and walking toward the front of the class. And I realize he's got a briefcase. This is the prof. I go, oh boy, this is going to be fun, right? And like you say about psychology, give me some of that, give me some more, yeah, right? So he stands up at the podium and he says, he was French. Hello, my name is Danielle Voyer, and I'm going to be your professeur. And I said, yes, you are. Yes, you are. So at that moment, I decided psychology is it for me. I'm staying right in this seat, and I will be sitting at the front. There's no problem there. So I decided I was going to impress this Professeur Voyer. With everything that I had, I became an academic overnight. I studied and I studied and I studied for the midterm. I was up every morning going through the notes for intro psych. I didn't even have to study for the GREs because the book was in here from studying, trying to impress Dr. Voyer in the midterm. So when it came time to study for the midterm, I didn't have to. It was already there because I've been doing it for a month now, right? So people in the res were saying, why aren't you studying? Do you have a midterm tomorrow? I was making little ghosts out of Kleenex for Halloween. I said, no, I think I'm ready. So I go in, I write the midterm, and I thought it went well. I go back into class Monday morning, and he comes up and he says, it's Brenda Baird here. I don't know, here? He said, no, it's not bad, it's good. I might as well say it. The first midterm, I was a little disappointed in everybody's grades. And I had to kind of, scale them. So when I added 5 points to everybody's mark, you ended up getting 104. So very, very good. So when you ask me why I chose psychology, psychology chose me, all right? For sure. So in any event, that's my story of how I get into psych. Not very academic, but the truth. The other thing I want to mention before I start this story of mine is when I was first asked to relate my experiences as a grad student and how they helped shape my career, I was absolutely confident I could come up with some anecdotes from the past, some stories, share a laugh, and that would be the end of it. But I can honestly say I was not prepared to witness, as I was writing this out, the absolute transformation that has occurred in me over the years, an absolute, and I say metamorphosis for sure. I'm still overwhelmed at looking at how, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. For me at Carleton, every step of the way, every obstacle that I faced was almost a deliberate attack on my anxiety and my confidence. To overcome that, and now to take that and not, like you say, you could quit, but everyone was there supporting me, right from, Chris Herdman, Joanne Lefebvre, Tomba, everybody in the faculty, all the teachers I had along the way, the professors, the chairs that I have seen come and go, the support staff from Judy Eddy, June Callender, Lynn Giff, everybody along the way, Atal, everyone has been there supporting me along the way, and I have to, again, express my gratitude for that. So what I'd like to do is kind of be honored if I could share this story with you today of this transformation that I actually went through. First of all, as I mentioned, I come from a very small town, Glace Bay, Nova Scotia. So I went to St. FX. When I arrived in Carleton campus, I was absolutely in culture shock. I came from a population of 6,000. 3,000 was the student body at X. I'm now arriving at Carleton, there's 22,000. I had never seen a doctoral student in my life because St. FX is an undergrad. So when I was being taken around the Herdman lab, this was, Fred Leach as a PhD. What, a PhD candidate? Are you kidding me? It was like a star sighting for me, right? I was just amazed. My next particular incident was walking along Bronson Avenue, coming to school, because I'd never seen anything like this. We didn't even have any buses in Antigonish. So walking along Bronson Avenue, I thought, okay, I've got two factors now. It's going to depend on my academic success. Number one, my ability to apply myself scholastically. Number two, my ability to dodge oncoming traffic. So I guess the fact that I'm here today can attest to the fact that I kind of did pass through both of those tests. I also came with a fear of speaking in public and a fear of statistics. My fear of speaking in public came from doing presentations at X, where I got very, very good at this technique that I call syllabus shopping, where I would then look at every syllabus that the teachers or the professors at that time would give me, and if there was a presentation, I would try not to take that course. Because I found that what would happen is I would sit there, much like today, but I've gone beyond that. This was a test for me today. I would sit there, and if there was 5 people ahead of me to give a presentation, my heart would be pounding. I thought I was going to be sick. I'd be dizzy. I couldn't do anything. I was a mess. I couldn't hold notes because they would be shaking like this. So how am I going to get over this? I just won't take anything that I have to do a presentation. When I got to Carleton, that was not a possibility. So taking all of the grad courses, we had to give seminars, presentations, and my first one, of course, was in Shelley Parlow's neuropsych class. And little did she know at the time, but avoidance learning. She was my first, let's say, exposure therapy for my particular phobia of speaking in public. I, ironically enough, had to give a presentation on stroke and CVA. And I thought, how appropriate, because I probably won't have to get to the presentation. It's going to be live, as I have a stroke right here on the spot, and people can learn from my particular incidents. So more of these were occurring, and little by little, of course, the fact that I was, pressed into giving these presentations, it got better and better. Not great, but I was able to live with, the beast. The fear of stats was the other thing. Just thinking that I couldn't do it. Everybody else knew what was going on except for me. Taking my first one with, of course, the departed Dick Dillon, famous for teaching 540 and 541 in those days. I'm sure many people here remember the 540, 541. And I'm looking around and thinking everybody else knows what's going on except for me. And I know now that people who take stats think that. So the first exam was a little bit different than me. I was taking a different test than everybody else. They were taking stats. I was taking the anxiety test. And I passed it in flying colors. When the mark came back, I got 12 out of 100. And I thought, okay, I'll never be taking this particular test again, meaning the anxiety test. I'm going to have to do something about this. I quit or I keep going. And as I'm writing the test, I'm looking around, and everybody, is yeah, right. And I'm, oh my God, I'm the only one. I got so freaked out that I forgot what a dependent variable meant. And if we all know that's not a good thing to forget during a stats test. So that was the reason for the bad mark. So I decided I would turn that around, and of course I prevailed and ended up getting a fairly good mark. I think I ended up getting an A- in the course, so that wasn't too bad. That brings me to Dr. Tomba. I ended up going into his lab. I was taking a course in neuropsychology he was teaching, and I was really smitten by his vast knowledge of the brain. In fact, I remember thinking how complex his mind must be to remember, unaided, all of these structures of the brain and the vast experience of 50 years that he had had. So I was just really amazed at this man. It became a little bit different, however, when I went into his office for the first time. Inside his office was a plastic model of the brain, and it was labeled with all the various parts. And I was looking at it and thinking, wow, this is quite something. So I looked at him and I said, do you use this? He said, absolutely, every day. And I thought, wow, this guy's a genius, he's a genius. At which point he quietly took off his hat and perched it on the plastic brain. And he said, it's my hat rest. I said, I want to work with you, I said. And the rest is history. So I worked with Dr. Tomba for about 15 years, 5 years, looking at concussion, head injury, developing tests to assess the neurological recovery or lack of in people having a head injury. And while his research was very rigorous, I learned a lot from him, but he was also very laid back. I remember walking into the lab one day, and there was 4 of us who were working on this project. And we were talking about how we were going to design the procedure. And we were talking back and forth, me and these grad students, and Dr. Tomba was sitting there not saying anything. And I was thinking, well, he must be really impressed with what we're saying, because he's not interjecting. He must really think we got a hold of this. So about 20 minutes went by, and we were looking at him, and then finally he sat back in a very Tomba way, and he said, are you finished? I said, yeah. He said, are you done talking now, Ollie? Are you finished? Yeah. I said, okay, now I'm going to tell you the way it's going to be, okay? So absolutely hilarious. So these kind of moments with Dr. Tomba just showed me how laid back and unassuming he could be as well, and I learned from him as well. One thing I was fortunate enough to experience here at Carleton was working with the PMC, the Paul Menton Center. Now this is where it gets really hilarious. I was asked to tutor students who were suffering from mental and physiological disorders, so anybody from having sensory deficits, ADHD, and so on. And one of the things that happened was just so I was slotted into this role of being the mentor for statistics. So because of that, I had to work one-on-one with students who have ADHD, teaching them statistics, which required digging in deeply to the textbook to know every little formula inside and out, which is really, in retrospect, a blessing that Carleton has given me, because I never would have dug that deeply into these formulae. And it gave me a really intricate understanding of where students have difficulty, how they can overcome the anxiety associated with it, all the things that I went through. And one interesting aspect, there was one girl who was blind, and she had a walking stick. And I was trying to explain regression to her, and couldn't get it, I exhausted every avenue trying to explain what regression was. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to take her walking stick, place it in her hand, and use it to represent slope, all right? And as I was doing that, the light came on and she got it. I went, oh my God, this is fabulous. Little did I know that was planting the seed for pedagogical innovation, coming up with ways to help people understand complex material. And I still use that kind of thing today, knowing where students are going to have a problem, how to fix it, how to overcome the anxiety, particularly with challenging courses like statistics. I would never have got that experience if I had not worked teaching psychology or teaching statistics to people with learning disabilities. So that was a wonderful step, another obstacle along the way. My teaching experience starts with abnormal psychology, fitting enough, coming from Cape Breton, Newfoundland. And I thought, perfect, I won't even need a textbook. After all I've just gone through, I can just go in and show home videos, I can talk about my issues with confidence and anxiety, and we'll be done, right? So I decided in my usual fashion that I would overcompensate, and I started the course 6 months in advance. And I would write out every word in the chapter, all the slides. I even had my notes made out. I had arrows pointing up, slide 1, time, everything, over control. I had happy faces when I got to a place where I'd look down and it would make me feel more confident. Okay, you got through that section. That was a rough part, right? I made sure there was a podium in front of me, so that the villains would not devour me, my students, hiding behind it psychologically. I had my religious medals tucked inside in case I should need them, just a glance, just to make sure I'm here for you, dear, right? All this stuff was going on. I arrived at the classroom 20 minutes early. I was in control, right? I had it down. Class started, and all of a sudden, I had this epiphany. I was actually experiencing the dissociative identity disorder that I was supposed to teach about, because this other person comes out of me. I don't know who she was, have no idea. She takes over the classroom. She's telling jokes, never looked at the note. It stayed there unturned, I never looked at the medal. 3-hour lecture, my first class, 3-hour lecture. Never looked at a note, had a ball of a time. After it was over, I was absolutely exhilarated, exhausted, but in a good way. And I thought, wow, they're gonna pay me to do this? They're gonna pay me to do this. So, 10 years later, actually 15 now, and 1,000 plus lectures later, I can honestly say I still feel the exact same way after every time. It gets better. I'm now teaching, got it down, right? I think I can, abnormal's up my alley, I can handle this stuff, I know the content, right? So then Dr. Mary Jick approaches me and says, oh, do you think you'd be interested in teaching statistics? Oh yeah, right? I'm your gal. And I said, So I thought, well, I've been working for the Paul Menton Center for quite a while now. I'm pretty good with the one-on-one. I know where the problems are. I could probably, make the slides, get this course going. Sure, I said, I'll teach statistics. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Say no. No, I'll take it on. Then she says, okay, by the way, it's on CUTV. It's going to be televised. I said, yeah, of course. Bring it on. So my very first time teaching statistics was also my first time on CUTV. So there I am, cameras on, and going 5, 4, 3, oh yeah. Had a great time, loved it, and I can honestly say that experience, thank you, Dr. Jick, was also one of those obstacles that has led to my success in what I do today. My current position, of course, is with Scholarship of Teaching and Learning at Ottawa U, and it has my 15 years here at Carleton and ongoing. I still teach a couple of courses here, stats being one of them. I can honestly say it did shape me into my person, not only academically, but personally as well, provide me with the facility to grow and to get rid of this anxiety and to build my confidence and to really understand how students learn, and that when something happens, like I think we've all said, you don't back down, you take it on. And although I find research rewarding, I did find that my very first time in the classroom, my passion really is in teaching, and I really like to focus my career there. So my philosophy then is I use the classroom as a pedagogical laboratory to find out how students best learn, and I have developed courses online. I teach teleconference courses, and as I mentioned, I'm teaching many working with the various centers at the University of Ottawa in education for enhancing the undergrad experience. So I can now teach to 30 or 3,000, it doesn't matter, televised, bring it on. And again, when I went to University of Ottawa, they were reluctant to ask me to teach a course. And I said, well, what's wrong? Well, it's teleconferenced. I said, yeah, and? Well, that means that there's screens. Little did they know the background I had at Carleton with television. I said, that's nothing, right? So before, when I'd say, oh my God, television, now I'm saying teleconference, that's easy stuff. So Carleton, thank you so much. So in conclusion, when I look back at my experience at Carleton, I realized that it was not just training in academics or obtaining my graduate degrees at all. It was a path tailor-made to lead me to the best career I could ever hope for, to mold a small, scared, presentation, computer, stats, phobic undergrad from Cape Breton Island into a seasoned, award-winning lecturer who teaches to over 1,500 students every academic year. And it's an evolution that encapsulates what education really should be, the evolution of the person, mentally and, of course, emotionally. And for that, I'm happy to be right here today to thank Carleton Psychology for transforming me into my career. Thank you.